Croton on Hudson. This is a tough group of people to follow. Mondaire Jones said something that was very telling. He said, power doesn't want to give up power that easily. When I ran in 2018 to get one seat on a board that had been all male, all Republican, all white, for many, many years, I'd never stepped foot into politics. But I said I could make a difference. And so I said, what do I have to lose? The worst that could happen is I lose. They did everything that they could to keep me out. They wrote a letter to the community saying I was from Peekskill. Colin, is Colin here? They said that I was running on the Me Too movement and trivialized women who had been assaulted. But the people of Tuckahoe said, we're not going for that. And so I say that because I want for young people who are here, and this is who I came to speak to know that you can do it too. Black girls, brown girls, yellow girls, you can do it too. And boys. So I want to tell you a story because everything that I came to say has already been said, and I know everybody's tired and probably thirsty. So I'll tell you a story about two boys, and this is a true story. One is a 16-year-old white boy, one is a 16-year-old black boy. Best friends since kindergarten. I'm on the board and I hear 2 weeks ago that one of those boys was assaulted by 3 black men in our community. And the community was in uproar. The young white boy was with his best friend in the boy's house, and they called his father. His father happens to be the pastor of our community. And when they called the police, he was bloody, he was hurt. They took him to the hospital. The detective that came to see him said, I'll come back tomorrow because you're really not up to talking to me today. When she got back the next day, she questioned him and started to see that there were some holes in his story. This is a white 16-year-old boy who's best friends with a 16-year-old black boy. When they questioned him a little further, they found out that he was lying. This boy has grown up in a household where his best friend's family was black. They helped him with his homework. They fed him. They gave him money when he didn't have so that he could have something to eat. But yet this boy who grew up in a household with 2 parents, educated, in a fairly middle-class neighborhood, the first thing that came to his mind to say when he was drunk and fell and hurt himself was, what excuse do I give my family and my community that 3 black men assaulted him? So that says to me that we are raising children to think this way. So I called the chief of police and I said, what happened? What did we do? And he told me that this happened in January and nothing had happened since, which disturbed me. I ran for office because I want every single person to have a voice. I want every single person to have justice, and I believe in restorative justice. So I told the chief of police, it's not good enough, we have to do better. So I made some recommendations. I said, first thing is, he's got to make a public apology. His father said, no, I don't want to put him at risk. I said he needs to attend some kind of implicit bias training, which we're holding in the community. His father said, I'm not racist. I said he needs to do a research paper and learn about a black man or a brown man who had been accused and or killed just because of the color of their skin. And he is to present that report to someone so that he can learn what his actions have caused. When I went to speak to the pastor, the black man whose son was best friends with this child, he says to me, "I'm hurt because I love him." So I was moved by the fact that even though this happened, there's still love in that man's heart. And so there's some things that I just want to speak to the young people, some things that you can do right now to make sure that you are doing everything that you can to combat racism every day. Ken Jenkins said it's not just about not being racist, it's about being anti-racist. So I want you guys, and I know you all have them, to take your phones out and write some of this down in your notes. Right. You with me? I want to hear it. You with me? So young people like Kadia and Paige and Marie, keep organizing. Don't stop. Some people said, what has it accomplished? So I read this somewhere. Within 10 days of sustained protests, Minneapolis bans the use of chokeholds because of protesting. Charges were upgraded for the officer who killed George Floyd, and his accomplices were arrested. Dallas adopts a duty to intervene rule that requires officers to stop other cops who are engaging in inappropriate use of force. In Maryland, a bipartisan work group of state lawmakers announced the police reform work group. And in this state of New York, our governor says the community has to have a seat at the table. So protesting, organizing, Paige, Marie, Kadia, it works. Don't stop. Number two, someone else said it. You have to vote. You vote in the people who make decisions that impact your lives. Don't just vote for the president or for Mondaire Jones, which, see, he's got a lot of support around here. Vote for your local officials. And you have to hold us accountable. Number three, you got this? Are you writing it? Number three, speak up. This is for the white children. Speak up when your friends make an off-color remark, no pun intended. Don't remain silent. When you see another young person on the outskirts because they feel uncomfortable coming in, invite them in. We as black and brown people sometimes are afraid. I was terrified when I ran against 5 white guys on a dais table that have been there for 10 years. Little old me, brown girl from Brooklyn. Brooklyn. So you have our white allies have to invite us in to make us feel welcome. You've lived in a world that has told you that white people are superior for so long. This is for you young people, that you unconsciously live that way, even if you think you don't. So you have to seek out implicit and anti-racist training so that you can look inside and see where are those areas that I need to shine a light on. Educate yourself by reading books like White Fragility and the New Jim Crow, because if you don't understand it, you really can't fight it. Look around your circle of friends. Do they all look like you? Do any look like me or Mondaire or Ken Jenkins? If not, that should give you some indication that maybe you need to make some changes. Start asking adults the hard questions. Go to your school and ask, how come we don't have any black or brown teachers? And demand that they get some. Go to your police chief and your village board and say, what training are we providing officers on implicit bias? So I want young people to all stand up for me, please, and young at heart if you so choose, because I want you to repeat something after me from the top of your lungs. Please stand. You've been sitting enough anyway. So I want you to repeat after me. I will do my part
I will do my part
to combat racism
to combat racism
every single day.
every single day.
Again, I will do my part
I will do my part
to combat racism
to combat racism
every single day.
every single day.
And the children shall lead us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Omayra. Our next and last speaker is Christopher A. Johnson. He serves as a county legislator for the 16th District, representing residents in the city of Yonkers. For years, he has played a key role in working with both the community and local governments to pave the path to success through education. He's worked on countless legislation, including immigration, women's rights, and anti-discrimination. His help in Yorktown has had nothing but a positive impact, and we are very excited to hear him speak today.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Happy Juneteenth, y'all! So what you've heard from all the speakers is everything that you need to know. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through a few of the things that you've already heard today so that when you go home, you know that you captured the reality of what you heard and what the speaker said up here today. So as the last speaker said, if you have your phone out still, then that's all right. Scroll through and take some notes. That's a good thing. So today we're supposed to be celebrating, but we're also supposed to be remembering. Remembering that 2.5 years after the President of the United States signed the Emancipation Proclamation, there were still people that were enslaved. And that when those final troops arrived in Texas and said to those final enslaved people that you are free, we recognize that day today. I want you all to think about that. The fact that change, you can want change today. You can push for change today. But the reality is that the most powerful person in the nation put his pen to paper, and there were people who did not realize that change for 2.5 years. This does not stop today. It doesn't stop today. When communities of color, when black communities build wealth in this country, we've seen the pushback. We've seen what it looks like when people have gathered and said, we're going to build up our community. And so Tulsa, Oklahoma had to deal with white people coming and deciding that black people having wealth, black people doing well in this country was not okay, and they burned down their city. And the trauma of that has to be experienced again tomorrow, when the President of these United States is going to have a rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's disrespectful and it's disgusting. The work does not stop today. So today we still experience these similar things. Sometimes they're not as overt as having a knee on your neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. But I will make sure that I say these names. Chris Malone, who was an Ossining resident who was killed by police. Raynette Turner in Mount Vernon, arrested for stealing seafood while in custody overnight, died in a jail cell. Stealing seafood is not a death sentence. Kenneth Chamberlain Sr., a veteran, in his home, his life alert goes off and is tased and gunned down by police officers in his own home. Dan Roy DJ Henry, a Pace student, in his car, shot at and killed by police officers. And Christopher Ridley, a plainclothes police officer, stopping a situation, doing the right thing, killed while doing his job off duty. This is not just George Floyd. This is not just Breonna Taylor. This is not those communities. This is not black people over there. This is right here, and it cannot stop. The work cannot stop today. So the truth about today is, this morning I woke up a little late. My wife took my son, and I was like, great, I get to sleep in. And I walked to the bathroom, and I looked in the mirror, and there was a black guy staring back at me. And what does that mean? Unfortunately, we know, right? We can read and we know what that means. That means if I'm in the wrong zip code, that my education is not like another person's in another zip code. That means that the way I look at police when they're in my school is different than people in other schools. The way that they look at their police, they say it's for protection, and people in my community say it's for surveillance. The reality is that our criminal justice system for people that look like me is different. Mass incarceration. The reality is that our healthcare system for people that look like me is different. When Serena Williams can have a baby and almost die because she told the doctor that she was going through something and they did not believe her, that is what this injustice looks like. The truth is that you're all here today, and I thank you for being here today. But again, the work does not stop today. When this is over, not just today, but as the weeks progress and the pandemic subsides and people get to go back to work, everything is open, and you go back to your regular lives, we can watch basketball, which I miss immensely, and football. The truth of the matter is that one day, one of those days, I'll wake up and I'll look in the mirror and I'll still be black. And so, while I have your attention, I'm asking you all to do something. Do something, right? The Deputy County Executive described it as being anti-racist. Well, the reality is, I ask you to show up and to speak up. When you not just show up here, but show up for racial injustice, push back on it. Show up for racial justice, and push back on those being unjust. Educate yourselves on the issues of today. Don't say, oh my gosh, I didn't know that was going on. You're not allowed to be ignorant anymore today. You're not allowed to be ignorant today. Organize, pick an issue. Education, our criminal justice system, police reform. Pick an issue, push back. What are you going to do today that will change my life and those who look like me, our lives tomorrow? Donate. Take that money from your pockets. Put it into black organizations. Put it into organizations fighting for justice. Shop black. Build up black businesses. Before I came here, I did something that you all can do today, tomorrow, this weekend, and on Tuesday, and that's vote. And when I tell you to vote, I'm going to add one additional thing. Trust black women. Because the reality is that if 4 years ago we trusted black women, Washington, D.C. would look different than it does today. And the last thing I'm going to ask you to do, and this is what you do yourselves. No one else will see you do this work. Ask yourself a question. The question is, in your own life, what are you doing to raise the voices of people that are not like you? What are you doing to raise the voices of black people? What are you doing to raise the voices of our LGBT community? What are you doing to raise the voices of young people? What are you doing? How much support are you giving our leaders, these young people who set this up today? Continue to put them in places of leadership. And I look to my colleagues specifically, I'll mention her because this is her district, Legislator Catherine Borgia, and I respect and I thank all of my colleagues because they believe that. They put their votes on trusting people of color because we have a chairman We have a vice chair, and we have me, the majority whip at the Board of Legislators, black people leading the way. Then ask yourself and ask your elected officials, do the policies that they support, do their staffs look like the communities that they say they support? And do their votes reflect what they say their priorities are? You will have electeds that tell you they care about education, but will cut education. You will have electeds that tell you they care about health care, but will close hospitals. You will have electeds that tell you that mental health is important to them, but mental health facilities close after mental health facility after mental health facility. Make sure that the elected officials that you support have people around them that look like the people that you say you care about. Make sure they have black staff people. Make sure they have Latino staff people. Make sure that people are represented in the halls of government. So as you ask yourself, what are you doing? As you ask yourself that question, I ask you to do something. And when you're done with that, do more. Thank you.
We just want to thank all of you for coming out today and staying in this heat. I see your faces and I will remember them. Thank you to all of our amazing speakers, to Paige.
I like to say, everybody, thank you so much for being here today, and what we're doing, it's amazing work, and I want to again say thank you to our amazing speakers, because when you're talking about these issues, it puts a lot of things into perspective, and you definitely get to hear a lot more about what's going on within our society.
We also want to recognize a couple of names: Andy Levitt, Janine King, Merlin Valerio, Deslin Dyer and family, Layla Goldmark and family, Carrie Tracy, Brian Pugh, Laura Duback, Noelle Schoenlieber, Karen Anderson Ponzer, Francis Fedora, Jared Alasadroni, Roswan Foxhall, Colin Smith, Soyen Papas, Gabby Opazzo, Megan Dyer, Jordan Humphrey, Paul Connors, Katie Walsh, Evan Turk, Alicia Simpson, Michael Plotkin, Jacob Dyer, Ada Green, Wilma Abamdepass, Maliha Ravello, Alicia Simpson, Paige Jones, Katia Abamdepass, Emily Grunes, Shoshana Daly, Annie DeRusso, Loretta Violante, Rory Curtin, Miles Ackerman, Ollie Shaw, Rose Ratliff, Rose Shupak-Diaz, Eve Holzman, Phoebe Turner, Maddie Nickage, Annika Rust, Olivia Weiner, Quinn Simmons, Gary Stellato, Shoshana Daly, Andrew Courtney, Omayra Andino, Christopher A. Johnson, and Safia Grant. Thank you all so much, and so many more. And to the other people that we didn't recognize, or we forgot your name, thank you. We are so appreciative. This event would not be possible without all of you here today. Please, on your way out, sign the banner. We still have water if you're thirsty. Get home safe, and thank you all so much.